Good evening, everyone. Today's session is on programs like how to write simple programs in Python. So, in the previous sessions, you have seen how to define variables, what are identifiers, what are data types. Now, after this, we are going to understand how to write programs and what are the simple programs that we can write in Python. So, all of us, we know that Python is a case sensitive language, right? So we will be using such programs like how to write such programs and how to have the different operators in our program, how to have different identifiers, how to define them, how to initialize them, and how to use them. So let us start and begin with the session. First program that talks about how to print any message on the screen. Right, we usually in every programming language we usually use this hello world or hello, this is my first program. As a message we want to print it on the screen, right? So simple print function is used to print on the screen. So let me explain you what is print function does. Print is the keyword, then open parenthesis and double quotes. So basically whatever you are going to write in the double quotes, that is directly printed on the screen. Like if I'm writing print parenthesis double quotes and I'm writing this is my first program and double quotes closed and then parenthesis closed. So this is whatever is written on my this print statement, that would be printed on the print screen, right? So this is the usage of print function. Let us go into the detailed part of that. Now the next program that we are going to use is input function. Now, what does input function? Basically, input function takes the input from the user. By default, when the input function is called, it takes the string data type. Like whatever the input data is taken by the user is in the is the data type is string. So let us start. Let us see how to have an integer type of value from the user at runtime. So basically this program receives only integer type value from the user at runtime. How it is possible? Let us see that. Print, again I have used that print statement for printing the message on the screen, right? So I have taken this print statement and then printed on the, that would be printed on the screen. After that, I have taken a variable which is storing the value that is taken from the user by calling the input function. That is, again I have told you by default the input function, whatever is taken by the input function is in the string format. If I want to have, if I want to convert it into another data type, so I can directly write the name of that data type in front of the input function. So like if I'm going to type it integer int, then it would be like the string part is converted into int. If it is into float, you can write it float. If you want to write it double, so there are different data types that can be taken. Whatever the value, it depends on the value actually, right? So we have, like we have used this input function for taking the age of the person. So by default it is taking as a string. Now I need to convert it into an integer. So what I'm going to do is I will take it as a int. Suppose I am taking the value of a suppose name. So name is automatically an string value. You need not have to convert it into the int, integer or numbers, right? So these are some benefits of the input function, that it takes the value from the user at runtime. And how we need to convert it, that is with the help of the whatever data type we want to convert it, we can directly write in front of that, right? And then you can print the value by using, again using the value, again using the keyword that is print function, and slash n is used to have the new line after this part, right? After this, this is an expression type, like you need to write, you are going to write a message. After that you are going to put the value as well. This is how we write the value on the screen. Next program is adding of two numbers. Let's have how to add two numbers with the help of the operator that is plus. So plus operator is basically used for adding the two numbers, and then later on we are going to print the result as well. So let us start with that. Print, enter the first number. So this is a message that will be displayed on the screen. After that, we have taken one variable that is going to take the input from the user at runtime, and that value is, again I am repeating, by default the input function takes the string data type, so it needs to be converted into a integer value. So we need to write the int before that, right? And then we have taken the input as second number, and again the same procedure. Then what we need to do is we have to add two numbers and store it in another variable that is res, that is result basically. Now after this, we are going to print the message that is result, and comma, that is what is the variable name that is storing the addition of sum of two numbers, that is res. So we are going to write it like this. So this is how we write, how we use the different variables as well as the different operators. With the help of which functions? With the help of print and input function, right? Let us move to the other programs. So the next program is operations on numbers. So we can have operations on numbers, like we can add two numbers, we can divide two numbers, we can multiply two numbers, we can subtract two numbers. So let us see all the operations that we are going to perform. Again, the first message is enter the first number. We are going to take the input of number 1 like this. We are storing it in num1. Then taking the input from the user, that is enter the second number, right? And then it is again taking the input function is going to take the input from the user and store it in the variable that is num2. Now you are going to perform operations on these two numbers, right? First of all, we have performed addition, summation of two numbers. Then how to do that? We are going to use the operator that is plus. Then res number 1 plus number 2, and it is stored in which variable, that is res. Then print this variable with the message that is addition result. Then again, because it's a variable, we can change the value of that res. Again what we are going to do is we are subtracting the values num1 minus num2, and then again we are printing the difference on the screen which is stored in the variable res. Then afterwards we have taken the multiplication of two numbers and we are taking the product in the res variable only. Then I told you in the previous classes also, star asterisk is, single asterisk is used for multiplication and double asterisk is used for power. Then we have taken the division of two numbers and storing the result, and it is going to print the, then afterwards we are going to print it on the screen. So this is how we perform different operations on two numbers. Then we have another program which basically talks about the number is even or odd. So many of you have heard this program can be written in different ways. Most of the people are using different ways for writing this. The logic behind that would remain same, right? Let's start with that. So what we are going to do in this program is we are taking the number from the user and then we are checking whether the number is even or odd, right? Like suppose I am taking the number with the help of print function, that is enter the number, and after that once we get the input from the user in the variable that is num. Now what we need to use is we need to check it out whether the number is even or not. Right, now how we are going to do is we basically in general science what we are going to do, we are just checking it out whether the number is divisible by 2, and after checking that the remainder is 0 or not. So for taking the remainder part, I told you which operator we are going to use is, that is modulus or percentage operator. which basically stores the remainder of that two numbers. So what we are going to do is we are checking if if then condition. What is the condition? Condition says that num percentage 2 is equal to. It is not an assignment operator. It will be an equality operator. Means the value on left hand side is equal to right hand side. So we are checking this. If the value of left hand side is equal to right hand side, then we put colon, because it is the syntax for using the if statement. Right? If it is true, then it is going to have to the next statement. If it is false, then we are going to have the else section part. Right? Again I am repeating, if the condition or the decision is true, we are going to execute the next line, the next statement. Otherwise, the statement would be jumping to the else section. That is the false section of this part. Right? So how if statement works basically, it works like this. If the condition is under this, if it is true, then this part will be executed. If it is false, then this part will be executed. This works like this, and this is a decision making node. Right? So if the decision making node has the true value, then one side, then it is going to print it is an even number, and if it is having the false condition, it is going to print the odd number. Right? So by this program, if and else concept is also introduced. How we use if and else concept? So if and else concept has two things. What are those two things? The true part and the false part. We can have nested else if also, like if we have multiple conditions under this is this, or there are other cases also. So we can have multiple conditions in Python using else if option. You have if, then else if, then else if, then else if. At the end of this, you have else part, which basically gives you to the next line of statement or false part. Right? So this is how we write a program and use different operators in Python. Let us move to the next program, adding the digits of a number. It is not addition of two numbers. It is adding the digits of a number. You have single number. Suppose I am talking about 45. So it's not, we are not talking about 45 is greater than any other number. No, we are talking about the number of digits that are there in the number. Right? We are going to add them. So how to add them? Like 45 is the number, if I'm going to take from the user, 4 plus 5, it should be 9. So let us see how it works with the help of while loop. Print, you take the input and you want one variable, that is sum, you have initialized it with 0. Now if the number, whatever number you have taken from the user, if it is greater than 0, now the loop begins. Now when the loop begins, how it works? In a Python programming language, indentation is a very important feature for any looping concept. Right? Now, like, we need not have to use any parenthesis or to tell the compiler this is the scope of statements. No. Besides that, what we are going to use is indentation. Indentation means this number of statements are coming under that particular loop. And how to exit from that loop? By simply not following the indentation format. Like for example, while number is greater than 0, then colon. I told you if ke aage bhi you need to mention colon, and else ke aage bhi you need to mention colon. Now remainder part you have taken. How remainder? The last digit you need to basically extract the digits. You need to separate the digits in a given number. So suppose it is 45. Now you take the remainder part, that is divisible by 10. Then the remainder part can be extracted with the modulus operator. Then what you are going to do is you are just adding with 0. So 0 plus remainder part. Then again if you take it as an integer of that integer of 10, so the both the digits are basically segregated. They are divided. Divided in the sense they are, you may say, they can be separated from a number. At the end of this, once you get out of the this, you can print the sum of two digits by using the variable that is sum. Sum is holding the summation of all the digits, right? Now let us see the most important part. Most of the students are getting confused with ASCII code, right? How to know, like how it is said ki this is a case sensitive language by following the ASCII values. So the uppercase A is different ASCII value and the lowercase a has different ASCII value. How to check that part? I have written one program that prints the ASCII value of any particular character. That could be a number, that could be a string, right? So print enter the character. You need to whatever, like suppose I am putting small a or capital A, I am putting that in my input, and that input is stored in ch. Now OR function is used that returns the ASCII value of any character, right, that is passed to that particular function. So how to write that part? I have defined one variable that that is holding the, that is basically calling the OR function, ORD, that prints and that takes the input from the user, that is ch, and whatever the ASCII value, it is going to be assigned to the variable that is ASC. And then in the next statement we are going to write the message that is ASCII value comma ASC. This is how we are printing the ASCII value of any character, right? If I want to print the ASCII value of a, b, lowercase b, we can use which function? We can use ORD function, ORD function, to get the value of any character. Next we have is prime number, right? The most frequently used program that asks about whether the number is prime or not. Now let's start with it. So what are prime numbers? Prime numbers are those numbers which are divisible by itself or 1. So let us start with the conditions. The first is we have taken the input from the user. Then we have initialized the p, that is used as a flag, right? P is equal to 0. And then we have used the for loop for basically extracting the division part of that and remainder part of that too. So I in range means what is the range, how to, till what number the program is going to be executed. And then we write the starting point of the number, the starting point of the loop, the ending point of the loop, and the units for the looping, right? So here by default if it is not mentioned, it is taken as 1 unit, means the value would be incremented by 1 unit, right? And then we put colon as we have in if and else also. Then if num percentage I is equal to 0, again we are checking this side is equal to 0, then p is equal to 1, right? Then we need to come out of the loop. So for coming out of the loop we are going to use that is break, right? Now next statement, now we need to use the flag part, that is p. If p is equal to 0, that means it is a prime number, else it would be a not a prime number. So this is how we use the flags and the modulus operator, the remainder operator, to check whether the number is prime or not, right? Next we have is most important program, or many of the interviewers ask how to get the largest number or larger number between two numbers, between three numbers, between four numbers. So based on their numbers you need to increase the if else statement as well, right? So let us start with this. To find the largest or greatest of two numbers in Python, you have to ask from the user to enter the any two numbers, and then using if else statement find and print the largest numbers as shown in the program given below. The question is to write a how to find the largest number among the two numbers. So it would be, we will be using which statement? We will be using control statement or decision making statement, that is if else. So let us start with that part. Print, we are taking two numbers from the user and we are storing it in the two variables, that is num1 and num2. Right? Now what we need to check it, if number 1 is greater than number 2, then if it is true, this condition is true. Let me show you this part. If this particular condition is true, that means the compiler is going to print the next statement. And if it is false, then the compiler is need to print the this statement. So again, it's a decision making node. It's a decision making node. Let me show you also this thing. And the decision that has to be taken is, if the number is greater than, then this message will be printed. If the number is less than, then this side will be executed. Right? So this is how it works actually. Doubt. If one number is larger, it is going to print this number 1. Otherwise, print number 2. Okay. So, what we have learned today? We have learned today the usage of loops, the usage of decision control systems, or you may say if else statements, the operators that we have discussed in the previous classes, the variables that we need to understand how to define variables. Like here, what is the naming convention? It's a very good case, like first three characters are lowercase and one is bigger one, the uppercase, and again others are in lowercase, right? So this is how we are going to write in while defining the identifiers or variables. And what is the role of input function? By default, input function, which value is taken by the input function? That is what? That is string. And if we need to convert it, we need to mention it as like this. I have shown you in this program. Yeah. Any value that is taken by the user is having the data type, that is string. Now we need to convert this string data type into the integer. So what we are going to do is, we need to type in front of that particular input function whatever value we want. Like if it is a float, then you need to write it as float. If it is a int, then you need to write it as a int. So this is how you are going to write it, right? And after this, like, what is the role of different variables? What is the role of print function? What is the role of input function? Right? Then we have is, what are the basic methods, what are the basic operations that can be performed on any two numbers? What are the basic operations? So what are the basic operations that can be performed on two numbers? You can use any of the operators. And what are operators? Plus, minus, division, multiply, remainder, and integer division we have to extract the integer part, and then Modulus operators, asterisk. One single asterisk is used to multiply, whereas double asterisk is used to get the power of that number, right? So this is how we have different operators and we can perform different operations on numbers, right? Then we have, next part we have is even or odd number or prime or not number. So how to have this kind of program with the help of if else statement, right? So if else statements helps you to have a true part and a false part of any number, right? When we have to take decision, we need to have if else statement, right? So for if else statement, like if it is a decision making statement, then how it works? With the help of if and else statement. And how to get the looping part? Loop could be for loop, loop could be while loop, right? So this is the while loop we have used. Again I am repeating, indentation is the very important point when we are writing the looping concept, right? While any condition, whatever condition you have, you need to write it down the condition. Then after this, whatever the number of statements, like you have 10 statements, you need to indent them to the right hand side. Like this, in this program, you may see number of spaces are maintained for writing the, like these number of statements are coming under this loop, right? Then we have ASCII value. Very important to know about the whether the what is the ASCII value of a particular character. We need to have a function that we are going to use, that is ORD function, to print the ASCII value of any character that is taken as an input from the user, right? And then we have used the break statement also to come out from the loop, right? It is not coming out from the program, it is coming out from the loop. So to come out from the loop, to exit from the loop, we are going to use the break statement, right? Then we have largest number, right? Now what are largest numbers? If we want to check out, if we want to find which number is largest number, we may be using operators. That is, again this is an operator, greater than, less than, equal to, and greater than equal to, less than equal to. So these are the number of operators which can be used to basically compare between two values. For comparison operators, we may use any of them. So hope you liked the session and understood the different programs that can be written in Python language. Thank you.